Welcome on the podcast comedian and curator Richard Franks, whose characters such as Mum and the Gen Z teacher have given him over 1 million followers on TikTok and tens of millions of views across a number of platforms.
It's a bit of a roller coaster, my career. I can honestly say, Ethan, I have never been able to fully say what is round the corner. First video that did go viral, woke up to my phone with all these notifications and I was like, what on earth is this? Thought about quitting so often, like especially in the early days. Proper roller coaster though, growing the online audience. You know, you have days where you just think, yes, this is absolutely fantastic, and then you have days where you think, what am I doing? First Mum video went really popular, and I thought at the time, I wonder if I could get 1 or 2 more videos out of this. I don't chase the numbers now because I think it gets really addictive. There is a very dark side to working on the internet. There's a lot of online trolls, and they can often be cutting and personal. That can be brutal.
Welcome on the podcast, Richard Franks. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you, Ethan. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, if people don't know who you are, explain to them what you do.
Okay, so I'm Richard Franks, and I sort of describe myself now as a comedian and creator. I think that's the best sort of description, although it does seem to change whatever I'm up to at the time. But I'm most well known now for playing characters online, particularly my mum character, who's gone quite viral. So I'm, character comedian, actor, all sorts. But yes, comedian, creator, daft person online, I think is a good description, for for the people.
Yeah. So before we get into all of that, let's go right back to the start. So what were you like as a young kid?
Oh, okay, that's a big question. Well, it may shock you, Ethan, to hear that I was I've always been a performer. I was as a kid, you used to have this massive dressing up box. I always used to put on like costumes and do characters and that. Just at home, I was that typical kid that that did shows and performances in their living room. My poor family that always had to sit round and be an audience. Because Rich was doing another show, but always wanted to play characters. I remember when I was really young, I used to borrow the family camcorder. Now this is showing my age, Ethan, because cameras were just not on phones, and there's going to be people like, what? It was this thing was like this big, and it was heavy to hold. And I used to film short videos. Which is funny when you consider what I've ended up doing now, working online, but I used to do it at home just to play back on the living room telly. Do you know what I mean? Short videos, doing characters and stuff. So it is funny that I've now come back round to it and I'm now doing that, online, but just this is a bit easier to hold, So, but always performing, always in shows at school, as a kid. And, although my life's ambition when I was a child was to be a lollipop man, Ethan. That was my when anyone ever asked me, they're like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I was like, "I want to be a lollipop man." I don't know, maybe it was the fluorescent, the luminous jacket, the coat, the stick, the authority. I don't know. But sadly, that didn't work out. So I had to go with Plan B, and went into comedy. Comedy. So
Plan B.
Yeah, that's it. I had to settle for Plan B, mate. But yeah, I was always performing as a kid. I think performing was a great outlet because although I was a performer, I was a very nervous child. I wasn't very confident. Apart from when I was performing, I think maybe the characters pull you through. It's sort of something to fall back on, a little bit of a defense mechanism. But yeah, I've always been, I've always loved playing characters from an early age. So.
Yeah, you said about that dressing up box. I had one of those. There's a story from a family friend where I was a policeman 1 minute, and then 5 minutes later I was a fireman, and just changing out like that.
Exactly that. Exactly that. I remember I had a teacher costume, and then one birthday I asked for a whiteboard as my actual birthday present, just so I could I could teach. It's a real commitment to the characters there,
Yeah, I had I set up my own fictional radio station, so it was Radio Fletcher.
I love that.
So
I love that.
Yeah, I would force my parents to listen to it, and I would just like play songs on this speaker, and like I made some jingles for it as well. But I think that's like a rite of passage. It seems like loads of radio presenters like just have a fictional radio station when they're like
I think that's
a kid.
brilliant. I hope you still got it on your CV as well. You know, first job, you know, Radio Fletcher. You know, I hope it's still there, just for, you know, the nostalgia.
Yeah,
Love that though. Love that. That's so cool. That's this kind of thing I
yeah.
would find very cool. You know, maybe we would have hung out at school probably.
Yeah, like I think my show, because obviously I was the boss of the show, of the radio station, so my show was called The Boss's Show.
The boss's show, because it was the boss's show. I'd like to think you'd make yourself the
Yeah.
boss if you're making your own radio station. I mean, it'd be really sad if you made your
Oh
own
yeah.
radio station and then you were like making the coffee, you know?
Yeah. Uh, um, so what were your parents like, and specifically, what was your mum like? And does your own experience of your mum influence, obviously, like you mentioned before, the viral character of the mum?
So, I mean, yeah, my parents sort of did perform in different ways. I remember like my mum talking about when she was a kid, she was always in like dance shows and like so like performing's obviously in the family. My dad was a drummer in a band for years, you know, and used to tour. So performing one way or another is obviously in my blood, you know. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of my mum in my mum character, but there's also a lot of like everybody's mum in the mum character. I do so much people watching. I'm dangerous to be around really because like I people watch. You know, if you do anything funny, I'll write it down. You know, I'll be in supermarkets and. You know, and if I hear like something that's a bit of gold an aisle across, I'll stand and have a listen to it. I'll examine a bag of pasta for like 10 minutes whilst I'm eavesdropping. You know, so it's 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 yeah. Of course, there's a load of my own family experiences in the character, but there's also a lot of like. Well, I think that's why the character is so relatable. I think is because it's kind of it's every mum to an extent. You know, I think there's so much of our families there, and obviously a lot of mine. I mean, a lot of my sisters as well. I've got sisters, I've got nieces and nephews. You know, like sisters with children. So it's a big old jumble. You know, like it's a big mixture. But yeah, a lot of family influences there that you know obviously filter through. Even without noticing, you just think, oh no, you know, turning into my dad, or I'm turning, or for me, I'm turning into my mum. You know, literally. So you know.
Yeah, so we'll
Mm.
come back to the mum later. But you said about the lollipop man being your dream as a kid. So what was like your like your dream job journey? So how did that change going into secondary school and then a
Yeah.
teenager? When did comedian come into the scene?
Well, I've always the thing is like I've always been like a funny kid, and I think and I touched on earlier on. I said about like I was quite a nervous kid. I had a lot of anxiety, and I think comedy arrived as a bit of a coping mechanism. Genuinely, like I think if you can make people laugh, you can deflect from yourself. Like I think you can you can it helps you take control of a situation. And also if you're the one making people laugh, then chances are they're not um what's the word, like they're not analyzing you. You've kind of you it's like creating like smoke and mirrors, you know, you're sort of deflecting. um but yeah, so I think, I mean, when I was really little, like I said, I mean, I used to, my parents used to laugh. You know, I used to say, "I want to be a lollipop man when when I grow up." It's probably because that was my earliest experience of like I used to obviously see a lollipop man every day on the way to school. Sadly, not to. Although never say never, Ethan. Do you know what I mean? Like you never know. Oh, it could come back round. But I wanted to do all sorts growing up, and also before I mean, I was an actor for years. Before all the online stuff, I was an actor. I used to, you know, I used to be a stand-up. I taught at a secondary school for a while. I did teach for a year or so, and then I came to a bit of a sort of a you know a fork in the road where I was like, I'm sort of trying to chase two different careers here. You know, I'm teaching, but also there's something in me that I haven't finished with the performing side yet. Like you know, it's still there. And if I don't give it a go, and if I don't give it everything I've got now, I'm worried I'm going to leave it too late. So I left, I left teaching, and I threw myself back into performing. And I was a jobbing actor for years, just doing bits and bobs, all sorts really. And then lockdown, of course, hit, and it made a tough industry even harder. And then that's when I thought, well, I've got to keep busy. I've got to keep making work. And that's when I started putting videos online. So I owe in a strange way a lot to lockdown, really, because that's what got me posting online. And now currently that is what I'm doing full time, which is really bizarre. But I think it's like, I think it was even as a child, it was always going to be performing in some way, shape, or form. It was always going to be there. I'd stop adults in supermarkets and tell them jokes as a kid, and my parents would be like so used to it, they'd stand there and roll their eyes, and I'd be, you know what I mean. I'd make people just in like the frozen section, and I'd tell them jokes, and they'd be like, right, come on now, Rich, because this shop is, we've been here for 4.5 hours, so. It's just in your bones, isn't it? I think, I don't know, if you've got funny bones, it doesn't leave you. So it's been a funny old journey, but here we are, really.
And I suppose even like the teaching's almost performative in some aspects.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I guess even teaching, fundamentally, you're standing at the front of a room with everyone looking at you, and you've got to get a
Yeah,
point across. You've got to get a point across in an
the centre of
engaging way.
attention.
Literally, yeah. I enjoyed teaching. Teaching was good, and it was very rewarding. It was just like I say, I came to that fork in the road where I was like, I'm because I was like teaching by day, and I was still like rehearsing jobs and doing other stuff like side acting jobs at night, and I was burning out. Like it was taking like all of my time and energy, and I was like, I'm basically juggling two kind of full-time careers here, and I have to choose one. So I went with performing. I went with the, and threw myself into it. And I'm glad I did. It's otherwise I'd hate to, in years to come, have looked back and thought I never gave it a go. I never did. I think it's important to listen to that little voice in your head that's saying, I'd really love to do this. So yeah, here we are. But you're right. The teaching, absolutely. There's a lot of big performing sort of aspect of that, I guess, for sure.
Yeah. So like, did the teaching come like straight after school, and then at what age did you make that decision to go full time into performing and comedy?
I So I went to university. I went to the Uni of Kent. I did a drama and theatre studies degree. Back then, I believe they don't run it anymore, but back then they used to do a 4th-year master's specialism in stand-up comedy, and that's what I did. And that was, do you know what, that was character building stuff, Ethan? I tell you, it's like so they had like a student comedy night on campus, and like we'd have to write new weekly routines like every week for the the campus, and then we'd have to go off into London. We had to do like a certain amount of like stand-up gigs in various venues in London. Obviously, open mic nights, so there'd be like rooms downstairs in pubs and clubs, and it's character building stuff, those gigs. Like that was, I do think it's great. I think if you're an actor or a performer of any kind, you should do like a couple of months of stand-up, and even if it doesn't go well, you will come out of it a stronger and more resilient person. Like I just think it should be like part of your training, because it does. You get heckled. I remember doing a stand-up gig at some pub in London, and all the audience, all it was this one massive hen party, and they were so drunk, and Ethan, I mean, I just got ripped apart. Like I was just not prepared for the battle, with a hen party. But do you know what, it puts like, it builds you up, like if you're ever doing shows or anything and someone shouts out from the audience, ever since you think, oh, that's nothing. That is nothing. I've had a hen, do you know what I mean, done a hen party downstairs in some pub in London. Like this is nothing. But the reason I bring that up, oh yes, of course I did. That was my degree. specialised in the stand-up at the end, and then yeah, fresh out of uni, I did jump pretty much straight into teaching because a job came up and it was available, and I was a graduate, and I thought, oh, fantastic! I'm so lucky, to be offered a job straight out of uni. And then alongside, like I said, by night I was still doing sort of performing jobs where I could get them. And that's when I started to get really tired because, you're teaching and then you're doing all your marking and then you're like rehearsing jobs. And then you start to sort of hate all of it because you're tired. Do you know what I mean? You start to resent kind of all aspects of what you're doing. And it's like, well, I'd rather fine tune this now and do what I actually really, really want to do and chase that dream, Ethan? Do you know what I mean? So that's it. And I did. So I made that decision. I was like, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. And of course, there's the people around you that go, oh, but you've got a regular wage, Richard. Like, you've got security. Don't throw it all away. And you just think, no, I've got to go after the dream. I can't, otherwise I'll never know. So yeah, it was, uni, fresh out of uni, went into teaching, enjoyed it, very rewarding, but just wasn't for me. So, and then switched over to performing, and then it was just years of like just jobbing, actor, just did jobs here and there, paying the bills, and then of course years down the line, obviously, I mean, a few successes along the way. We did a couple of shows with CBeebies, a few kids shows for the BBC. That was a lot of fun. Co-wrote a few of the episodes as well. That was like great experience. Yeah, and then acted a bit of comedy, etc. And then of course lockdown hit and like everything was cancelled. I mean, lockdown was horrendous for everybody. A lot of people just lost all their work, but of course acting was a very hard job to do from home, and then the government came out and obviously just said, hey, you should retrain. Why don't you get a job in, what was it the poster said? Get a job in cyber. I don't know if you remember that. It was like, oh, your next job could be in cyber. And I was like, oh, great. I've got 0 qualifications in cyber. Whatever that to this day, I don't know what my job in cyber could have been. But then, so then, yeah, I just thought, right, I'm going to start putting videos online, start doing characters. Did a few, and then I just got that first video that did go viral. Woke up to my phone with all these notifications, and I was like, what on earth is this? Thought my phone had broken. And then it kind of snowballed from there, luckily, like touch wood, and it's and I've just not stopped, so long may that continue. So it's a bit of a roller coaster, my career. I can honestly say, Ethan, I have never been able to fully say what is around the corner. I probably still can't. I mean, do you know what I mean? But it's but it has been a lot of fun, and I've had a lot of fantastic experiences along the way. And I think whatever job you're doing, you always pull experiences from that role and take it into your next role with you. Like you say, teaching, and you said, well, teaching is just performing in a different sort of format, and you're absolutely right. Like if you can teach a drama lesson to a bunch of year 9s that perhaps don't want to be there, and they come in and say, oh, sir, my mum said that drama's a pointless subject and I don't have to do it. And then you think, well, I've still got to get you a passing grade in this lesson, so that makes my job really easy. Like, that's going to be great. If you can be resilient enough, if you can get through that, and then you can survive a hen party downstairs in some pub in London, you're pretty set up, you're pretty set up for the industry. So,
yeah. So you mentioned that teaching. So was it in drama, or obviously you're known for one of the characters you're known for is your teacher character, teaching Gen Z English. So did you do any English teaching as well while you were there?
So I didn't. So I taught drama, but then of course that involved Shakespeare. Same suit though. That suit is left over from my teaching days. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I can still fit in it. I mean, it's like that was a real compliment to me. But like, yeah, that was where. I mean, I've always loved Shakespeare, and I've always loved like English. Like I did obviously English GCSE, and then I did it at A level. I did drama at uni, but if I hadn't, it probably would have been English. Like, it was always going to be sort of English or drama, because there's a lot of crossover. And then I taught drama. I was a drama teacher, but yeah, there was a lot of Shakespeare texts in that. So I've always had the familiarity with Shakespeare's texts, you know. And like I said earlier on, I think you always take experiences from one job to another with you. So when I was, you know, making the videos, and I really fancied doing something new. And at the time, do you remember that trend that was going around online that was like, if Gen Z wrote the script, and like hotels and businesses online was sort of like saying, you know,
Oh yeah.
our business lounge slays, you know, or whatever, you know, that sort of trend.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of trending at the time. And I thought, oh, that could be interesting. I was like, what sort of spin could I put on that? What could I bring to it? And I was like, oh, I could do a teacher that is trying to, you know, relate to the kids, because already that's a funny kind of idea and a bit cringe and awkward. And then I thought, oh, I could rewrite the synopsis, you know, the synopsises of the Shakespeare plays with that sort of Gen Z slang. Honestly, teaching myself the Gen Z slang was harder than remembering the Shakespeare. You know, trying to get that, you know, find that balance of how much slang to use was a challenge, but came out in really good videos. I get so many messages from teachers saying, like, I use this now as a resource, like in lessons, like I use this to teach. And, you know, so it's funny, really. But yeah, love a bit of Shakespeare, me. Love it. And it's nice to kind of being able to bring that into the online videos as well. And it was lovely to get a new character out there as well, like that sort of Gen Z teacher. That was a lot of fun, you know. I'm working on, I'm trying to write an Inspector Calls, but in Gen Z slang at the moment. Because like karaoke requests now, I get like teachers messaging me saying, please do this text because I'm teaching it next month. I'm teaching it next month, and it'd be really handy to have you know, have a video on it. So yeah, it's funny, really. But then also they say write about what you know, and I'd had experience being a teacher, so I guess it kind of makes sense that a teacher character popped up as well. So, you know, it's all goes full circle a bit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you talk about like pre-TikTok with your like jobbing actor. So you were part of a slapstick comedy group called the Three Half Pints, and toured a number
Blimey,
of
yeah.
shows, including the Three Musketeers, Treasure Island, A Christmas Carol. So where did that group come from, and where did the name come from as well?
Wow. Yeah. Do you know, it's so funny, Ethan? Like, there's been so many like little chapters of my life. And this is like and also you've done your research. You've done you've done your homework here, I can tell. Yeah, so I was in a slapstick comedy trio. We met and formed at university. And then when we graduated, we carried on performing. We did a couple of like Edinburgh Fringe runs. And it was great fun. Like, we used to do like really physical comedy. We were doing we were sort of doing basically the stuff that, like, the play that goes wrong, you know, like the Mischief Theatre guys. Now, we were doing that for years, like that sort of slapstick. We just never called it. You know, Mischief Theatre did that genius thing where they came along and said, we're just going to call it exactly what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's a play that goes wrong. And we were like, oh, why didn't we do that 5 years ago? It's all about your marketing, genius stuff they've got. Also, the play that goes wrong is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, and we toured, and you know, we did it for years. Like, we did it for years, and that's how we got. It was with that slapstick trio that we got these shows on CBeebies. So, and this shows the power of the internet, because, and this was long before, like, I'm trying to think, TikTok wasn't a thing then. Back at, like, when I was at uni, definitely didn't have TikTok. Instagram didn't have Reels. I think Instagram was literally just a photo app back then, like absolute dinosaur, really. But so we just had a clip of us working on YouTube, just doing a bit of slapstick, like a bit of a routine. And then one day we just got an email from the BBC, and they said, "Hi, we're doing a pilot for this new television show, and we're looking for a slapstick comedy trio to play 3 slapstick aliens. Would you be free?" And we were like, like, throw the diary out the window. We were like, yeah, we're absolutely free, like, of course. And so we just literally, from that, them seeing a clip on YouTube of us, dropping us an email, and we made a pilot episode. The show was called Spotbots, and we played these sort of like slapstick aliens that have sort of landed on Earth, and they're just exploring here, there, and everywhere, museums and parks and stuff. And then we did the pilot, and then we didn't hear anything for a year, and thought that was completely done. And then like it was just over a year later, and the phone rang, and they were like, "Oh, hi, it's whoever it was, the BBC. Do you remember that pilot you made with us a year ago?" And we were like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Well, we've decided to make a series. Would you be up for being in it, like a full series?" And we were like, "Yeah, like, yeah, that would actually be great. Like, we'll definitely do that." So it's really surreal though, like really, how it happened. And then we did a series, a whole season of Spotbots. It didn't get commissioned for a season 2, so that was just the season 1. But we did get to write some of the scripts on it as well. So to have a writing credit was great. And that was just from one clip on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that was the power of the internet back then. Like now, with the apps that we've got, like the platforms we have to show videos on, it's only got bigger, like there's so many people watching online. But I'm always such a strong advocate for saying, like have a presence online, even if you don't want it to be your career, even if you don't want to work online, just have something, because you don't know who's watching, and you don't know who's looking for that next thing, or they're casting for that certain program, or things like that. And you never know when you might get an email asking you to be a slapstick alien on a kids show. So strange things do happen. But yeah, so the trio, that company came from uni. That's where we met, toured for years, worked together for years, like I say, like Edinburgh Fringe, did a few tours, then obviously did the CBeebies stuff. Then that sort of came to a close, and we parted ways, and yeah, that's when we all just sort of just started acting, like doing all sorts of jobs. And yeah, interesting really. I've done kids shows and all sorts, mate. It's been a funny old journey really, but very exciting. I have enjoyed all of it. It's been good character building stuff. So
You mentioned one of the Mischief guys. I actually interviewed Henry Lewis, I think it was one of the
oh yeah,
writers
I'm a
on
big
that. That was a
fan.
really interesting, yeah, because
I
they went
remember,
from like a pub in like a
yes.
100-seat pub above there, a pub above a pub. There it is.
So,
To like
start again,
now
mate. Come on.
Broadway, West End, UK tours.
Yeah. Well, I remember one year being at the Edinburgh Fringe, and this is years ago, and flyering as you do on the Royal Mile, and standing beside this theatre company called Mischief Theatre. And I remember like having a chat with them, be like, "Oh, what's your show? I'll come to yours if you come to mine." Do you know what I mean? Like swapping leaflets and stuff. And at the time, they were leafleting for a show called, oh, I might get this wrong. It was either like Lights, Camera, Action or Lights, Camera, Improv. It was an improv show. I think it was a name like that. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, that looks quite cool. And I did go along and watch them. And like you say, it was in, like a downstairs pub room. And little did I know that in a few years to come, they would be, do you know what I mean, dominating the West End. Like absolutely incredible. They have just done so well. And do you know what I'm a massive fan of? I love an Edinburgh Fringe success story. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love when people have like clawed their way in and up. It's like Six the Musical, that started on that. There's a Fringe show once upon a time, and I love that. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny really when you look, and now they've got Play That Goes Wrong, Peter Pan Goes Wrong, comedy about a bank robbery. I mean, the list goes on. Incredible stuff.
Yeah. It's like when you're in that group, like, did you write the shows yourselves, and how did you get into venues? Was that hard? And to get people to come see you, and like the intensity of touring, like how was
Sure.
that all?
Yeah, the way we toured when I was in the slapstick comedy trio was it was very intense because we did do everything. And I think when you first start out, you don't have the budget. You're not hiring people, so you do everything yourself. So we would write. So yeah, we'd have an idea. We'd write the shows. So whether it was something we were writing ourselves or a comedy adaptation, like we did a Christmas Carol sort of adaptation. And then and then we would take it out on the road. We did a lot of like touring with the Arts Council. We did a great scheme with the Arts Council of Wales, actually. Like they've got this big thing where they want to try and get theatre into areas that just do not receive it, that don't have theatres, So, gosh, we used to perform in like anything from like youth clubs to community centres to like, I don't know, borderline abandoned buildings, but it was just anywhere to get theatre into communities that just are starved of entertainment, that just don't have it. And that was really cool. I remember so we'd literally, like Ethan, we'd hire a van, we'd make sure that the set we had made could all screw apart. We had to make sure it could fold down. Everything folds, comes apart, anything you can get in the back of a van. And I remember we turned up at this one town in Wales, and we were in an assembly school hall, right? And one of the kids, they because the schools would usually like do a bit of like lessons around it as well, so like some of the kids would know we're coming, and they'd sort of make it part of their curriculum. And one kid came up to us and he said, "Oh, where does the screen go?" We were like, what do you mean, what screen? And he was like, "Well, the performance on the screen." He's like, "Where does the screen go?" And we were like, "No, we're not going to be on a screen. We're going to do it for you live, like in real like in real time." And basically all he'd ever known was the television, like, and the idea that we were going to perform in front of him like in real life live, we totally blew his mind. And it was that day where we all looked at each other and went, wow, we're really doing something kind of important here, which we didn't realize. Like, we are literally some children's very first theatre experience now, like doing this scheme. And that was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Like, I loved like what, I don't know, that's like a bit of a privilege, isn't it? That was yeah, I got so many experiences from being on the road like that. It is, I mean, when you're doing everything yourself in the van, touring UK, Wales, going all over, it is exhausting though. Like, it is an exhausting way to tour. But again, though, the experiences you get along the way are just like incredible. And you build up contacts as you go. You start to get on first name terms with, the programmers at the theatres. And then so you pick up the phone and try and book yourself back in. And I mean, this is so many years ago now. Like, this is like really, I'm like digging from the archives here. Like, this is, this is years ago. But yeah, like, so many good experiences came from doing that sort of like mid-scale, like small to mid-scale touring, and we had a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And like those experiences you take with you into your next jobs, into the industry. But I'm such an advocate for make your own work, do your own thing. Well, it's like you, Ethan, with this podcast. I think it's so important to have a project, launch something, build something yourself from the ground up, because when you're in years to come, when you look back, you have such a rewarding feeling where you're like, I did that, I made that, like I brought that together. And I think that's fantastic. It's so, I'm such a strong advocate for, get up, write it yourself, make that piece of art, create that project, do it now, do it today, get going, and in years to come, you'll have the rewards for it, sort of thing. So yeah, it is tiring. Like, it's fun, but it was a tiring way to tour. It's because, of course, you set up your show, you do the whole show, and then you're like, oh, we've got to take that set apart now. we've got to take all that down. But it puts hairs on your chest. It's it's a good experience. But blimey, that was a lot of years ago.
Yeah, like you said, when doing your own projects, it's insane to me like that like I could do this from like my bedroom in
Yeah,
the northeast of England and
absolutely.
be talking to you, be talking to Olympians, TV presenters. It's
Yeah,
just like what
yeah.
the like yeah, what's happened here?
That's it, and I think we, and we've got so many like tools and resources at our disposal, like put my teeth in, our disposal now. Like like the internet, the apps, the fact that we don't have to physically meet up now to be able to have this chat, this interview, it just broadens your horizon, and it's just it's a brilliant thing. Like I think there's so many ways, there's so many avenues now you can work and reach people and reach your audience. It's brilliant. I love it. It's
Yeah, it is.
come a long way.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So was there a point during that time where you were jobbing at
Mm.
where you thought about quitting and getting a stable job as such?
All the time, like all the time. Yeah, the answer is yes. I love the industry I work in. I love performing. I've always performed in one way, shape, or form, in my career. But often, Ethan, like often I have so often I've doubted everything I'm doing. I'm also hypercritical. Like I'm really critical of myself. I watch my own work back, and I'm quite a harsh critic. So I so often I've thought, what am I doing? And then that imposter syndrome as well that creeps in so often, where you think, what am I doing? And should I even be doing this? And why don't I just get a different job? And it so many times. And I tell you what's really tricky as well is whilst you are pursuing a creative role or a job, actor, whatever. But once you're trying to build that career, obviously things happen slower than they would if you did just get an office job, because you've got the job start Monday full time, and of course, so a lot of my friends and family would all be in their full time careers, progressing up, and I was still chipping away at the dream, chasing the dream, and so often you'd think, oh, like they're all going on holidays, and I'm not because I'm planning this show or I'm trying to write this script or and it's really, really hard, I think, sometimes because you can't help, but we all do it. And it's something I try not to do anymore. But we compare ourselves to other people all the time, and that's such a dangerous thing to do. And I really try not to compare myself to others now because everyone's different and everyone's running their own race, and we're all doing different things. But it's very easy to think, oh, I'm tired. I'm chipping away at the dream. Will I even make it? Will I get there? All those doubts creep in, and all your friends around you are like, "Oh, mate, just come and I can get you a job. I can get you a job in my office. Like, just come and you'll be sorted. You'll be fine." Which I hugely appreciate those offers. But there's that little voice that's just like, "No, come on, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep doing this." But the temptation to quit and give up is always there, but you just have to have the drive and the resilience, um, and I don't know, and and whatever it is, just to keep going. I always keep going. Um, but yes, oh, Ethan, I have quit. I've almost quit so many times. Um, yeah, yeah, it's it's always there. Like it's you just have those times where you think you're tired and you're a bit run down and you might not be working and you question yourself, the imposter syndrome kicks in and you think, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Should I just get a different job? You know, but then you just have to, shake yourself, sit up and go, no, come on, there's a reason I'm doing this. There's a reason I want to do this and keep going. But
Yeah, and in those years, you also got the opportunity to be on Justin's House, which a lot of people know. You also wrote on there as well. So, what was like? What was that like? And is that
yeah.
something you would like to do more along writing for TV and acting in TV? Would you like to do that more as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So working on Justin's house on CBeebies was fantastic. And you know, Justin is such a pro. Like he's just well, I mean, he's a veteran of, you know, children's TV, and he's so good. Like he was and working with him was a fantastic experience. He because in between takes when the camera stopped, he'd be like we had this bit of routine where he would spill orange squash like over my lap, and he had it on a tray, and he had the jug of squash, and although it sounds like such a simple thing, the logistics of it to make it look kind of natural, like oh, we're tripping, and we did it, and he, you know, in between takes he'd be like, I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to have the jug here, and we're going to try the trip this way, and we're going to have the cups. He was such a pro, and it was lovely to watch, and it was really lovely to work with him. And then, of course, yes, we got to write a couple of the scripts for Justin's house, which I loved. And yeah, I would love to write more for television, because it's there's just something really special about seeing something you've written on paper being done like in front of you, like these, you know, these actors, and seeing Justin like saying lines that you've written. That was amazing. So yeah, I'd love to do more of that. And oh yeah, it was a brilliant experience working on
Yeah, I can
Justin's house,
imagine.
because that's like an institution, isn't it? He's like
Yeah,
rock star of the children's TV world, isn't he? So
he is.
he's, you
Yeah,
know, oh yeah, that was brilliant. It was good times, that, you know. And of course that one is filmed in front of a live studio audience, so it's like
wow.
yeah, and the kids are like electric. They love it. You know, they're so there for it. So that was like, so you know, you're trying to remember your lines. You know, it's yeah. Well, I say remember my lines. In one of the episodes, I was an alien that spoke a gobbledygook language. So that wasn't too tricky. It wasn't. No one was going to pick me up on lines on that one, you know. But no, that was great fun, and I'm, you know, I'd love to write for TV more, you know, trying to get a few things in motion. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at the moment, you know, but yeah, Justin's house is fab. That was great. Let's go back and visit. I'd love to.
Yeah. So you also did a number of pantos. So like, how was
Yeah,
that experience? You do so many shows in a small period and get like Christmas Day off
yeah.
and New Year's Day off. And would you ever go back to doing pantos?
So, I mean, yeah, I did panto for, must be, I think I did 8 years in a row, or something. Um, for many of those years, I was the comic in residence at the Horth Theatre in Crawley, and had a great time. Love a bit of panto. Do you know what I mean? Jokes are plenty. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's good fun. And usually the casts generally seem to be in a good mood because it's Christmas, you know. Well, we are at the beginning before we're exhausted and ill, but it's, you know, it's sort of, it's good fun. Um, it's busy. Like panto, honestly, is I think one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. Um, you've got a lot of 3 show days. It's exhausting. You know, it's constant. It's also Christmas. You're trying to get your Christmas shopping done. You're trying to, you know, everyone's inviting you to parties and things that you can't go to because you're working all of Christmas. Yeah, you get Christmas Day off, but you're back to it on Boxing Day. I'm pulling out all the negatives now, but it is also fantastic. And also pantomime. Pantomime is some children's like first experience of theatre as well. So that's like a very beautiful thing to be a part of. Like that's really lovely. But panto is hard. Hats off to actors that do panto every single year, because it is hard work. You're like, you know, usually you lose about 3 stone and like go home at the end of the run, like with the flu, and like, you know, it's a lot of hard work, but good fun. I think if you get a good cast, you know, and a nice funny script, panto can be brilliant. But I did it for years, and then of course as my online work started to take off, it just got harder and harder to keep going, because then you have to weigh up the time that, you know, taking time out of the calendar to do a 6-week panto run, which would be full time, and I know I wouldn't be able to produce as many videos alongside doing that sort of contract. So it's just like, oh, do I do that? But then I wouldn't be making the videos. But the moment the videos, the online work is really taking off. So I've sort of hit pause on Panto. But like, yeah, I would never say never. Like, if the right offer came in, I would absolutely consider it. Because I did have a good time. I did have a good time on Panto. Like, some of the shenanigans, like it's like, especially the closer you get to Christmas and people are getting a bit festive, it's sort of it's great fun. And pantomime is such a brilliant way to get so much experience, because pantomimes bring together a cast of performers that you wouldn't always get together. So like, you'll have obviously dancers, comedians, you might have a few like musical theatre singers, but then then maybe you'll have like a ventriloquist and an acrobatic act, and do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like, you wouldn't necessarily in a different production have those people pulled from all different areas to come together in the panto. So you meet a lot of people, and good industry connections and stuff. So again, I think like every performer should do a couple of years of panto, definitely, just to like get that experience. And but I would do it again. I would absolutely do it again if the right offer came in.
Yeah, so what's the biggest mistake you've made on stage?
Oh, now I am a bit notorious for mistakes. So I remember one mistake I did make was I was doing Snow White at the Sheffield Lyceum, and the Wicked Queen was Wendy Peters, who's a fantastic actor, Coronation Street, and the Wicked Queen is talking, and we all had a queue where like there was like me, the pantomime dame, and then like the other sort of comedian. We had to go forward on a certain cue and sort of like say a line to her and then dance back. And then I think, I don't know what I did, but my brain drifted off somewhere, and I thought she'd said the line that was my cue to go running forward and stand beside her. So I just sprinted. I panicked and I sprinted forward, and it turns out I was about a page of script too soon. So I was just standing there, like, honestly, it was ridiculous. And I was standing there beside her, and then there's Wendy Peters like talking, doing a bit with Prince Charming, and then she had to look at she had to look at me, and she basically went, "Why are you here?" Like, this is on stage, and she's like, "Can I just finish my bit first?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry," and I like had to like scurry back to my place, listening intently, waited for my cue, and then went back again. Huge round of applause the second time, just for getting it right from the audience, like just for literally just doing my job correctly. But that will stay with me forever, because it was just that. I don't know what happened, Ethan. I think I just drifted for a second, and then I came back and I was like, "Oh no, what line are we?" And I panicked, and I went sprinting forward, and it was just such a funny little moment. But loads of little things happen. I mean, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. What things have I done? I mean, obviously there's like, you do slosh routines in panto where there's, the floor's covered in custard and just staying on your feet.
Yeah.
I remember I was working with a dame called Michael Batchelor. He's fantastic. Very, very funny person to work with. And he slipped over like face first and didn't get his arms out in front of him in time, so just face planted the stage. And there was a definite moment where I looked around and thought he died. Like, I was like, he hasn't moved. Like, and I was like, I'm just gonna have to like roll him off stage. Oh, it was, and then luckily like one arm and a groan, like slowly happened, and I was like, oh, thank goodness, at least he hasn't, at least he's still with us. I don't know, but panto, I mean, all sorts of things happen in panto. But, oh gosh. Anyway, like, yeah.
So you did a few more years of jobbing, acting work, and then in 2020, as you said before, you launched your TikTok when lockdown hit. What types of videos did you do in those early days, and how quickly did it grow? I was watching actually one this morning of you singing a cover to a song, but it was about Trump suggesting to drink bleach to to
Ethan, that is
cure
such an
COVID.
old video. Oh my gosh, that's like that is such. That was like that was arguably that was before I'd gone like viral. You know, that was before I was like would consider myself doing videos full time. Um, oh yeah, that was when it hit the news that Trump. There was that thing, wasn't there, about
Yeah.
beating COVID? No, what was it? It was he'd suggested that bleach. He'd
I
said
think, yeah, he
something daft,
literally just
and
he
it was
suggested
ridiculous.
that bleach would help
Yeah.
cure COVID.
And then I did a song, a spoonful of Dettol, and so that was it. It was to the old Mary Poppins, just a spoonful of sugar. That was it. Blimey, that you've done a deep dive here, and I'm very impressed because that was such an old video. But yeah, but in the early days, I did like anything and everything, and I kind of miss those days a bit where like when you've got everything to play for. Like I used to do all sorts of videos. I remember I did a series where, like, if your cat could talk, you know, and I played a cat, and I literally just put ears on and drew some whiskers on my face, you know, really, you know, high budget stuff, and and that was like my first video that went viral, like really took off, and I was like, oh, maybe I could make a career out of this, maybe, and but I did all sorts. So yeah, I did a few comedy songs like that Trump song you just mentioned, and then I did the sort of this cat character. I did a few animals for a while. I did like If Pets Could Talk. You know, I did that for a bit. That was quite popular. But this is going back years because I saw the date. My first mum video, I think, went out on the 20th of October. It's funny because I was looking at this recently. 20th of October in 2020. So so in 2020, so yeah, we're coming up to like mum's, well, 2025 will be mum's 5-year anniversary of existing, which is a bit balmy that it's been that long. But yeah, I kind of missed the early days where I did like anything and everything, content wise, because now obviously I've built up quite a strong following for like characters, for the mum character, and so that's kind of my full-time career now. But I like to try, and I you know, I do have plans to introduce other things and go back to, you know, a bit more variety. It's tricky to know when. It's just all about timing, like when's the right time to release new stuff and try something new. But yeah, the working online has been a funny roller coaster. Like it's wow, yeah, it's been. I get ups and downs, and I've quit so many. Like I've like thought about quitting so often, like especially in the early days. You know, when you pour your heart and soul into a video and do all this editing, and then you put it up, and it like completely flops, and you just think, I spent 2 days. I spent 2 days on this video, you know, and you fall foul of the algorithm, or you just don't get the views, and you know,
Yeah.
and now here we are, you know, but still doing it, so it's obviously still going.
Yeah, on the other side of that, what's a video that like went unexpectedly viral that you didn't think would do that well?
Okay, so I did a video, and talk about like write about what you know. I did a video that was like things that bald people have said to them all the time, and which I have a wealth of those that I hear like all the time. And I did not think that would go. I didn't think that would be popular, but it really did. It turns out there is my fellow bald community really came together for that one. But also people were like, oh my gosh, I've said this to my dad, or I've said this to, you know, my brother or whatever, or my partner. I've said these things. People don't realize that they just say all the same things. And so I didn't expect that to be popular, but that was, that resonated with enough people. That got quite popular. I wasn't expecting it because I just did comments. It was just like throwaway comments. Like, cause like, I can't tell you, Ethan, how many times people have said to me like, oh, I could never be bald. And then they say, oh, but it suits you though. You've got the right shaped head for it, but it would never suit me. Like, honestly, do you know how many people have said that to me? Like, oh, it suits you. It never suit me. And I'm like, it's just fear of the unknown. Like, when you start losing your hair and you've got very few options and you decide to brave the shave and you go for it, you know, you just have to go for it and embrace it. But unless you've done that, you never know. But people just say the same things, you know. Like I can't, like so many people like just ask me, they're like, can I touch your head? like can I touch your head? And it's like, well, firstly, that's a very strange thing you've just asked me. I mean, it is weird, but sure, go for it. maybe it'll bring you good luck, you know. But anyway, so I did it. Yeah, just a daft little video, things that bald people hear all the time, and it did actually get quite popular, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, so like when you first get that feeling of like viral videos and just watching the views go up, the likes go up, the comments, how does that feel? And then how it obviously comes, more attention comes with more criticism and like trolls.
Yes.
So how do you deal with that as well?
It's really interesting when you start to go viral, because like you say, suddenly you get a lot more attention, you're reaching a lot more people, so you start getting a lot more criticism. But it's a double-edged sword, because you get more criticism, but then you also get more compliments and praise, and your following grows, which is fantastic. It's really interesting when you start to grow an audience online, because you start tiptoeing towards it being a full-time career, and you have those, you go back and forth on it. You're like, will this be, could I maybe, could I do this full-time? Well, is this gonna, maybe, no, surely not, you know, that won't be me, it won't work for me. And then you know, you get a bit bigger and you get another few videos that go really viral, and you think, oh, this might work, you know, maybe this will be a thing. And it's strange to watch it grow, especially because I was so new to it, working online. Still parts of it I don't understand. I'm always learning as I go. But so it was like, it was unexpected, because for me, I started in lockdown to keep myself busy, and to be like sitting here now talking to you about it as a full-time job is so surreal, like is so strange. But I love it. I love reaching the amounts of people that I do now. You know, I can put a piece of work out and reach, you know, thousands of people. And I love that. It's you know, and I can go straight from it. It goes from me straight to my audience as well. Which is, I think that's really empowering for you as a performer. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, it's not something you have to audition for, or, you know, like rounds of castings and stuff. You know, if you've got a product, if you've got something that you want to get out there, you can put it out there, you know, to your audience. But yeah, it's proper roller coaster though, growing the online audience. You know, you have days where you just think, yes, this is absolutely fantastic, and then you have days where you think, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going to go and become a lollipop man. Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? You know?
If TikTok gets banned, the other option,
that was worrying.
lollipop man.
I was going to say, I know old Trump keeps dancing around the TikTok ban. Luckily, it's really strange, because TikTok is my largest audience, but I think, like, I guess because I do a mum character, for me, like Instagram and Facebook are very loyal fan bases. I think there's, all the mums are on Facebook, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's where you go. So I'll survive. If TikTok does get banned, I'll get by, but it'll be an interesting time though. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just hope. Let's hope you won't.
Yeah, how did that like when it was a massive thing, and because it's been a question for years. So when that shadows kind of over you, how do you deal with that? And especially because when it actually did get banned for that short period,
I know, was it like 48 hours? Yeah, he turned it off for a bit, didn't he?
I think it was less than like 24. I think.
Yeah, it was like nothing. Do you know what, Ethan?
Yeah.
My gut instinct tells me that I don't think it will be banned, because at the end of the day, TikTok is a business and a lot of people are earning money, and when there's money being earned, I don't think it will be banned. I think he was like peacocking. I think it was just like, he just wanted to show that he has the power. Like, you know, I think it was a lot of bravado. over it just to assert some dominance. My gut feeling says, because there's so many people. Obviously, we're just talking about America. Well, I'm talking about America at the moment, but like, there's so many people in America that earn so much money that will be taxed and etc. So I think they'd lose so much money if it was banned. So my gut feeling is that it won't. But I'm not an expert. Like, I don't know that. I don't know that for certain. But it was troubling.
Like audience wise, how much is their US audience, or is your comedy very British specific?
I've got my my audience is very UK based, like, for definitely. My online, like my American audience has grown actually. Especially this last year, it has got bigger. But yeah, like, I would say largely most of my audience is UK
Yeah.
based. Then I've got, with a few pockets, sort of some in America and then a few other places around the world. I think some of that mum comedy, that observational stuff, is quite timeless. I think it resonates with mums everywhere. But yeah, but yes, it's very UK heavy with the style of what I do and the way I work, but then my influence, I think that my style of comedy is very sort of British comedy. I think my influences are kind of quite British, so yeah, that kind of makes sense that my big following would be here.
I hope you are enjoying my interview with Richard. It's me, Ethan, from the editing here. I just wanted to say thank you for 500 subscribers on this channel, and we are trying to get to 1,000 next. That's the big dream goal, so please do subscribe. We've got some more great guests coming up in the next couple of months, and the more subscribers we can get, the more guests that we can get on the podcast. I also wanted to mention I am running my first half marathon in a couple of weeks' time at the Great North Run. So if you do want to donate to that, please do. It's a cause very close to my heart. My girlfriend got diagnosed with MS last year, so I'm running it for the MS Trust, which provides support for people with MS, families, but also funds MS nurses like Abby's, my girlfriend. If you can't donate, please do just give MS a Google, but if you do want to donate, the link is in the description. But I'll let you get back to the interview with Richard. Obviously, like, the level of success you've experienced with your mum character outdoes any other character. So, like, why did you decide to make that first video? And was she an instant success? Was that first mum video a viral one for you?
Yeah, it was. So it was back in the day, in the early days, when I was sort of trying all sorts of characters out, like trying all sorts of sketches. And then I did the mum video, and the first mum video went really popular. And I thought at the time, I wonder if I could get one or two more videos out of this. He says 5 years later, still doing it, but like, and I did, and they went well. They went down well, and that was the beginning of it. And then I just thought, well, I'll keep doing it while there's still an audience for it. And luckily, like, touch wood, it did go from strength to strength, But it was the first mum video really took off, like really went big, which is very surreal. And like, I get invited to like mum Facebook groups now, total imposter syndrome. I just think, like, I can't be here, But here we are, and the character is still going 5 years later. I did not expect it at all. But now, like, over the years, like, she's become more developed. I've sort of fleshed her out as more of a, like, three-dimensional character. Like, now she's got family and, kids. And then now there's David, her husband, and she's got a long-suffering friend, Tracy, who's always livid, and catchphrases, which I didn't expect. The audience just locked on to these words one day, and then they became catchphrases. That was really strange. Now we love it. It's just a absolute roller coaster. Didn't expect it, but brilliant as well.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, 5 years down the line. So how do you still come up with new ideas for
Mm.
her? And then do you think she'll ever be retired, or as the years go on, will it become like grandma videos, grandmother videos?
I had a similar idea. I was like, how long do I do this before she's got to become grandma? Like, it's going to happen. Won't it? It'll have to happen. Well, I don't know, Ethan. This is a really interesting question about like effectively like what is the shelf life of of this character? I mean, in terms of material, I mean, there's always new pockets of material, and there's always things to be found. I have some weeks where I've got too many ideas, and then I have some weeks where I'm like, oh my god, I don't don't have anything. So I'll send a few texts, a few messages around to like mum friends and be like, how's your morning been? Have you got anything that could be a video? So there's material to be found in a lot of places, luckily. But I mean, I don't know what the future holds. It's so hard to say. At the moment, the trajectory is up. It's going well, and it's going up, and the popularity is growing. So I think we're okay. I'll get to the end of the year, and then, we'll see what happens. I think, and there's new avenues as well. Like we keep talking, we keep toying with like live show. That could be on the cards. That could be a possibility. All sorts of things. But at the moment, things are going well, and mum's busy, bless her, always busy. And yeah, but yes, maybe she'll have to become a grandma eventually. Can you imagine? Imagine if I'm doing that. Imagine I'm 80 years old, still going for it, still doing it. Who knows,
Yeah.
Ethan? I've never known what's around the corner in my
Who
career.
knows?
So
When you hit like 1 million followers on TikTok, how did that feel? And like just to imagine how many people that is, and like that watch your videos. And do you feel if you look at the numbers too much, it affects your content in some ways?
yes, yeah, I think the answer is yes. It's absolutely brilliant hitting million followers because basically it's that sense of achievement. 1 million people have hit follow, they've seen something you've done, they've liked it, enjoyed it, and they want to follow you, and that's amazing. So that is a real sense of achievement. Yeah, but you can get too hung up on the numbers, and I used to, oh gosh, I used to never stop checking the analytics, the insights, all the data and stuff. So I do check less now. Like my philosophy now is kind of, well, the people that enjoy my work will stay for it, and they'll want to watch it and support it, and then but yeah, so it's lovely to reach 1 million followers. That's enormous, and is and I'm very grateful. But yes, I don't chase the numbers now, because I think it gets really addictive. Like Ethan, and of course, because it's all on your phone as well. So of an evening, like you don't switch off. You find yourself like checking the analytics, like how did that video perform? Oh, I got 100 new followers from that video. Okay, what did I do in that video then that I could recreate? And it never ends. Like, so I do have to sort of, I keep an eye on things like that, but you do have to sort of like, you can get really bogged down in the technical analysis of working online. And I know you have to a certain extent, but like I don't. In the early days, I used to watch the followers, and or you'd put a video up and you'd be like, oh, I lost 20 followers. What did they hate? Like what did I do? Where did they go? So I have had to stop doing that because it drives you mad.
Yeah.
But yes, but also so grateful for the 1 million followers. Like that's it's massive achievement, and it's amazing. But yeah, you just can't. You have to learn to take a step back a little bit, and deep breath, and the internet's a big old scary and strange place.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like, take me through a process of making a video from the idea to posting it, and like how scripted is it, or is it fully just like improv?
So my videos, I think it would be safe to say that my videos are 80% scripted, but there is always a solid like 20% wiggle room, improv, embellishment. When I get going, because I work with bullet points. So let's say I come up with an idea. It's a mum video. Let's say, what's one I've done recently? Oh, when the family do chores around the house, and then they come and tell mum that they've done them for her, right? Rather than they just needed doing around the house. Okay, so many, and that one really took off because I think it really resonated with mums. A lot of mums venting. The comment section became almost therapy. Like people venting. So yeah, telling your mum, "Oh, I've done this for you," and it's like, no, you haven't done it for your mum. You've done it because it needed doing around the house. And so I start off with bullet points. I'm like, right, what are the main key moments in this video, and what are so I know they're ticked off. Then I'll sort of flesh it out with text and stuff. So I'll be like, oh, okay, these are the things mum will say. Then I write jokes. I'm like, right, I want 4 or 5 solid kind of wordplay, like just something, like things that people will quote in the comment section, because that's always good. It's always good to have a few hooks. So like, what will people write in the comments? They'll be like, oh gosh, blah blah blah. It was funny when mum said that. So it's so structured, like storyboarded, I guess. But I never script it word for word, because when I'm in the costume and I'm doing it and I'm tearing around the house doing whatever, things always come to me in the moment. So like I say, 80% planned, but always leave that 20% for spontaneity, comments in the moment, when I'm, and just when you're in the costume, something happens. You like most actors will say, once you're in the costume and you feel you're in the zone, you're in the character, things come to you. You start thinking like, well, for me, like start thinking like mum, So, yeah, 80-20, but there's always a bit of ad libbing, always a bit of improv. Yeah, keeps it fresh. So.
Yeah, so what's it like to film videos in the public as mum dressed up in the wig?
Yeah, so I call these videos "Mum in the Wild." So it's like, it was at first really strange. Like it was a really strange experience, because when you're out and about in costume, like you are very vulnerable. Like do you know what I mean? You completely like make yourself vulnerable. In fact, sometimes when you're out and about filming, full stop, whether you're in costume or not, people they do look at you sort of strangely. Like I think people get very suspicious. Like they're like, why have you got a camera? What are you doing? So add a costume into that, add a mum costume into that. You do get some funny, looks. I was in a supermarket car park once. And I've had the catchphrases screamed at me across the car park. Like, obviously, so if anybody doesn't know, then one of my catchphrases is, mum's husband is called David, and I go, David, and I sort of demonically kind of scream it. And I just heard across the car park, I just heard David, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's got easier. It's got a bit easier now that I'm a bit more well known, because people do recognize mum now, which is lovely. And it also does give me a bit of room to play like it's people know, basically, which is very nice. But yeah, when I first started going into the public as mum, it was, like, I remember filming a video with a brilliant comedian, Shappy Korsandi, and we went to Richmond Park, and that was my first, I think, one of my first mum in public. Like, had to the car park was over here. We had to walk a long way into Richmond Park to where we were filming. And I was like, wow, I'm just out and about now as mum. Like, this is a real step forward. And I mean, you do get funny looks. And also mum's very loud. So she draws attention to herself. She draws a lot of attention to herself, but people love it. I think playing the character in public amongst real people adds this whole other level of like believability and relatability to her, because she's like, oh god, look, she's there with people. Like, she's actually there with people around. So And if you do occasionally catch a sort of a reaction or an expression from a member of the public, you know, reacting to you, that can be quite funny, because it goes one or two ways. People absolutely love it, or they just look at you like, what on earth are you doing? Like, you know, just disdain, you know. So, but yeah, funny. It's filming in public is yeah, a funny old thing, for sure.
Yeah, and along with those videos, you've also done a number of videos with celebrities. So, what is it like?
Yeah,
How does it feel to the videos you've made in a house where the wig has led to that has
yeah.
led to people asking to film videos with mum?
Yeah, I mean that is first of all huge compliment. Like to have celebs saying, "Come on, I need to meet mum." Like, come on, when are we doing this? You know, is absolutely fantastic because, like you say, Ethan, it started off me in a wig in my bedroom. You know, in fact when I first started making videos, at that time I lived in my dad's loft. I mean, it was like converted to a bedroom. I wasn't like sleeping in the Christmas decorations, but like it was like but. So like from that point to now where I'm, you know, where I'm no longer living in my dad's Christmas decorations, you'll be thrilled to hear. But now to have but basically this character that just started with my mobile phone at home in my bedroom, and then to be out and about with celebs working together is absolutely astonishing and so surreal. I think the first celeb collab I did was with Vanessa Phelps, and she followed me on Insta, and then I messaged her and I said, "Oh, I've got to go for it. I've got to go for it." And I messaged and I said, "I don't suppose you'd fancy meeting mum and do it, doing a funny sketch together?" And she said, "Absolutely yes." She was like, "I'll do anything." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing." So I got invited over to her house. She made me lunch, like made a day of it. But there was such a strange feeling when I was just in Vanessa Phelps's house, putting on my mum costume, and there's that moment where you're like, "What am I doing? What am I doing? Like this is so this is so strange, But we had a brilliant video out of it, and now me and Vanessa are good friends, so it was brilliant. But no, it is surreal, like working with Vanessa, like I said, and then like Shappy Kosandi. I've done bits and bobs with a few people now. Just like literally as of 2 days ago, filmed a video with Giovanni, who was obviously from Strictly. Loads of loads of collabs are happening, and got a few more lined up as well, which should be exciting. But it's really surreal when you track that journey, when you think this started with just me in my bedroom, and now I've got, just people. And now I'm I'm out and about doing these collabs. Brilliant. It's exciting. I love the collabs. I love working with other people doing it. It's good stuff.
So who's your dream person to do a video with?
Oh, that is a big question. That is such a big question. Okay. So I think I've probably got a few. So I would love to do I'd love to do a video with like Dawn French. I think we'd have a giggle. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, don't you think? That'd be really funny. Yeah,
yeah.
like Dawn French, I'd love to do a video with. Who else? Who would be really, really good for mum to collab with? I mean, I'd love to do one with like do you know what I think would be hilarious is like Rylan. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think mum should meet
Okay.
Rylan.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I
actually,
think
yeah.
I've got one day, like I've got Alan Carr in my sights as well. I think that would be such a good. Basically, people I think I'd have a real laugh with, like just
Yeah.
people I think are fun, but like, yeah, mixed bag. But then also, I like doing sketches as well, like with serious people. Like, do you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be comedians. Like, I think I'd like to. I'm trying to think. Who do I think would be really good? I don't know. Get like a news reporter or so, or like I'll tell you who'd be like, or like like Susie Dent from Countdown. Like, do you know what I mean? Like no, not Count. Yeah, is it no Countdown? The spelling. She's like the is it Ada? Susie Dent. She's like the word genius. Susie Dent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I don't know.
yeah,
Just Ethan, I'm now questioning everything. No, she is on countdown. She sits on the side, doesn't she, and do do the letters. Yeah. Sorry, I doubted everything I knew then. I was like, hang on a minute. Yeah, but yeah, something like, love to work with Dawn French, Alan Carr, throw Rylan in for good measure. Maybe even, you could take it another way, like throw in a Gemma Collins for good measure. Do you know what I mean? Why not? Do you know what I mean? I think
Oh,
that,
yeah.
it'd be, I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be bedlam, it'd be chaos, it'd be carnage. But the beauty of the character, especially the mum character, is she can adapt to anybody, so she can, whoever she's with can make it work. So watch this space.
Yeah.
We shall see.
How does it? Oh. So like, how does it feel knowing that the character of Mum is almost now more known than you?
Yeah, I know. I always say to people, Richard Franks is my least successful character. It's like, Mum, like obviously got a lot of offers coming through my agent now for Mum. Like Mum gets invited to bits and bobs. It's a huge compliment because at the end of the day, Mum is my creation. She's my invention. So it's lovely to have her popular. And it's what I love doing. I love playing characters. I've always loved that. So it's being recognised for your work. So that's still great. It's brilliant. But yes, you're right. It's funny. It's funny people calling me Mum. Like, I mean, that's a bit of an odd one. But here we are. It keeps things very interesting, and I don't have a lot of dull moments. Like my sort of things are fun. So
Yeah. So what does an average day and then an average week in your life look like? Like a little overview.
Sure. So I guess an average week for me is I will spend a day planning and writing the videos for that week. What do I need to achieve by Friday or Sunday? Like, what do I need to achieve by the end of the week? I go to quite a lot of events now and things. Like networking is so important. So I'm usually being a social butterfly, getting around, just meeting people at events and things. But yeah, like most days are filming videos. I film lots more than I upload. There's a lot that doesn't make it online. That I'll watch back and go, oh, I'm just not quite happy with that. Not sure that works. So it's writing, it's planning, filming videos, editing. I probably spend longer editing than I do filming. And then of course there's all the bits and bobs that you don't see online. There's we're spinning a lot of plates behind the scenes, jobs and little bits and bobs and things that don't come to fruition. And occasionally I audition for a couple of bits and bobs, but again, like, that's so hit and miss, so you wouldn't hear anything about that. But what I will say and what I do love is, like, from week to week, it's always very, very different. I can be doing very different things, and I love that. I do love the variety. It keeps me on my toes. So I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's just absolutely started pouring down. If you hear, like, I don't know if you can hear it. Hopefully you can't, but it's just torrential downpour. But yeah, so it's just basically constantly I'm writing, filming, editing, brushing wigs, a lot of wigs, and then all the fun stuff that comes up alongside that, podcasts and stuff. I love to sit down and have a chat and put the world to rights, talk about the industry and stuff. It's always great fun. So variety is a lot of variety.
Yeah. So some quick fire questions here. So what has been the highest point and the lowest point in your career so far?
Wow. Highest point. Oh gosh, the highest points would be hitting 1 million followers, being recognized out and about for characters that I've created, because that's my work. That's amazing. That feeling, that recognition, nothing beats that. Being recognized for your work. Those are highest. But starting to work with celeb collabs, they're great. That's amazing. Lowest point though, well, there is a very dark side to working on the internet. You have videos that don't hit, they don't take off, they flop. you might get criticism. There's a lot of online trolls, and they can often be cutting and personal. And it's hard. And when you're sitting at home and these people can reach you, you're reading these comments, and in the, what I mean, in your safe space, that can be brutal. Like, that can be, do you know what I mean? There is a very horrible side to the internet. Largely, I'm such a huge advocate for the internet. I think it's a fantastic resource that we have. It's a brilliant place, but sadly, some people ruin it. Don't you know what I mean? Like, there is a dark side, and it can be brutal. So my lowest points, I think, sometimes if you let something get to you, I've been doing it for a few years now. I'm quite thick-skinned, but it can get to you. Like, and you have to, like, pick yourself back up and be like, nope, not having this. We crack on. We continue. Sorry, that was.
Yeah.
I love how you said that was quick fire, and I just went into this whole monologue.
What's your favorite and least favorite thing about your job?
Favorite thing about the job is I can do what I want. I can create my work and I can take it straight to my audience. You know what I mean? I don't need anyone's approval necessarily. I can create stuff and take it to the fan base, and I love that. That's brilliant, and it's instant as well. The least favorite thing is the same thing I've just said, but on the other side of that is if a video doesn't go well or it's not liked, it's also completely on me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's also for all the things that make it amazing, there is a downside to that. Like, I'm the guy that, I'm the writer, the creator, but I'm also the receptionist and the PA as well. So I deal with the good and the bad of working online, if that makes sense. So
what's your favorite character?
Oh, it's got to be Mum. I've got to say Mum. She pays me electricity bill. Like, no, Mum. I'm so proud of the audience that Mum has generated. Like, and I guess she's what you would call my signature character. So, and the opportunities I'm getting, the people I'm working with are amazing. So I've got to go with Mum. Got to be.
What are some future projects you are working on?
So, future projects. So, like I said, we keep talking about a live show. That obviously wouldn't be this year, potentially next year. We just need to decide what shape that would take, what template, the shape, sort of what that show would be. But something live is coming. Like, something on stage is going to happen. It's not a case of if, it's just a case of when and what that will look like. But it's definitely on the cards. I'm also, of course, more characters are coming. I've got things up my sleeve. I've got characters written that I haven't filmed yet, that I'm quite excited about. So we're throwing more characters out onto the internet, which I'm very excited about. Otherwise, I mean, gosh, I am writing scripts. I'm penciling drafts for pilot episodes, for potential sitcom sketch show shenanigans. That writing is ongoing in the background. So when that gets to a point where that's finished, that will be being sent off to broadcasters. Just keep everything crossed. Just cross your fingers, toes, everything, Ethan. Do you know what I mean? Just thoughts and prayers. So we're keeping busy. Like I said, we're spinning a lot of plates, and we just need to see what happens, like what lands.
Yeah, and now obviously you're full time in what you're doing. So what's the next dream goal for you that you're chasing? Is that the TV work?
Yeah, I'll say the next dream goal for me is sketch show, character-based show, something fun like that on telly would be amazing. That's what we're writing. That's what we're working towards. So watch this space. Yeah, but that's the dream. Yeah.
Yes. So now I've got a few quick fire questions from your audience, from Facebook, Instagram. So there's lots of questions for you, lots of love for Mum, lots of love from teachers for your teacher character. So here's one of the questions. Are there any of your older characters that you've done in the past that you'd like to revisit or revamp?
Yeah, definitely. I've got a character called Neville who I haven't done many videos with Neville. He's like a community nosy neighbor, community warden sort of character, and I'd love to get him out and about in public, like on the street, in the neighborhood gossip. I want to do a lot more with Neville. He needs to come back in a big way. Um, yeah. Um, more of the Gen Z teacher would be fun too. Uh, but yeah, for sure. Like definitely Neville and teacher, I reckon. Yeah. We'll see some more of them.
Yeah, there's lots of things saying about how Mum's always spot on. So, how does she do her hair and makeup, and also how do you get Mum generally so spot on? Someone said, honestly, it's like watching myself sometimes.
Well, but then that's where it comes back to like people watching and seeing how people behave out and about. When like earlier on I said about I'll be in a supermarket and you can't help but I'm not trying to listen, but sometimes you just hear scenarios and you think, oh my gosh, that'd be an amazing video. And once you start watching people, but not in a weird way, like in a professional way, um, you start to realize that a lot of what we do is so similar. Like a lot of what we do is the same. People's behavior is scarily similar. So yeah, I mean, I know, of course, my own family as well, like things from my own mum, sisters. I get material from everywhere. That's why it's probably relatable.
Who's Mum's secret celebrity fantasy?
Oh, well, I mean, this isn't a secret because she has revealed this several times, but there's been a few videos where she's like talked about Tom Hardy. Like that definitely has come up quite like quite a bit. But then she also in one video did say she had a little strange crush on Martin Clunes, like maybe it's Doctor or Doc Martin. But yeah, I'll go with that. That's a strange duo to have, the old Tom Hardy Martin Clunes crush. But yeah, we'll go with that.
There's lots of questions about David. We'd like to see David. Would that be on the possibility at any point? And where did the name come from for David?
Oh, the name. Do you know? I don't know, Ethan. I don't know where the name came from. I think David's a lovely name to shout. Like I think because it's got you got those good. It's like the D sound is very strong. The David. It's got a clear start and finish. It's good to shout. So it might be where that comes from. I mean, that might have just evolved from that. But in terms of seeing David, I don't know because you see, I don't think I would. I don't think I would be able to play David as well as I play Mum, and I think it might be a bit confusing. But I also love having unseen characters. I love because we all imagine the characters we don't see slightly different. Like a similar thing with the friend Tracy, the character that you never see Tracy. You just Mum talks about her all the time in the videos. Like when you talk to people and you say like, "What do you think Tracy looks like?" Everyone's got slightly different creations in their head.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to put that out there and people be like, "Oh no, that's not Tracy," or "That's not David. That's not what they look like."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Upset
Yeah.
people. So maybe we leave them, as legend myths kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about Tracy, what one person said Tracy is going to be livid that she wasn't invited.
Absolutely. Oh, Ethan, you'll be in for it. She'll be absolutely livid.
I
You
know.
won't you won't get a Christmas card from her this year. Absolutely not.
And obviously we know David's name, Tracy's name, but what is Mum's name? And then there's also another comment saying what's Mum's actual name. So everyone wants to know.
I know. Well, Ethan, so I have never revealed Mum's name. Um, and sadly I'm not gonna reveal it now, unfortunately. One day, one day there will be a reveal. There will have to be, because especially if we take Mum forward, if there is a show, let's say like we're talking about chasing the dream, if we get that sketch show, there will probably have to be a name. So one day there will be a big reveal for Mum, for Mum's name. It's a bit like the fishing trip in Gavin and Stacey now, isn't it? No one knows. Like, we don't know what happened. Mum's name isn't out there. I've got a strong idea. Like I know Mum's name, and one day I'll share it, but I'll keep it as a little teaser for now. Keep it.
Yeah, like you said, so one person said, like, would you think of making a sitcom of Mum? Would that be one of the dreams?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, the short answer is yes. I think at the moment I'm looking at options where it would be like a sort of a character sketch show where there's a bit more multi-rolling. So we're able to like test mum out as like one of many characters. And then if that's a success, it's been done before where then, you know, certain characters get their own shows, you know, like I think Steve Coogan's done things like that, you know, like with Alan Partridge and obviously Catherine Tate, you know, did that. Obviously Nan got her own show, you know, Nan got her own show and things. So maybe something like that. Yeah.
I think someone was saying about how it would be great to see Nan and Mum.
Oh, yeah. Do you know that's come up a couple of times? They're like, "Oh, can you get hold of Catherine Tate? Could you do a Nan and Mum?" That I mean, that would be incredible. Like that would absolutely be fantastic. And yes, in fact, Catherine Tate should have been in my dream when you said earlier on, dream people to work with. I learnt a lot from
Yeah.
Catherine Tate.
Okay. Well,
So,
Catherine Tate in it.
so Catherine, if you are watching, pick up the phone. Like, you know, pick up the phone. Give us a call. Yeah.
So there's quite a few comments about the panto and how you were really good on it. So one person asked, do you miss a live audience, or do you get that same buzz from reactions in the comments?
That's a really interesting question. It's different. Like I loved the live audience because of course the reactions you get are immediate. Um, but I reach more people with like, you know, I reach larger audiences with working online. And of course it's work that I'm writing myself. So it's yes, I miss the live audience, but I love working online and I love working in sketches and filming and sort of media side of it. I love that. So it's a different it's ticking different boxes, I guess. I love it, but I love it all. But yeah, I'd love to get back to a live audience one day, for sure.
I've just had to pick a few. So who's your best friend if you had to choose one? Someone put this on my story called Chris.
Oh, yeah, that's my that's one of my oldest, closest friends, Chris. So what he's fishing for there, he's fishing for his name to come up. Look at him giving himself a plug. Now you've brought him up. That'll be my friend Chris. So I'm going to annoy him a lot, and I'm going to say Matt. I'm going to say my best friend is Matt because Matt, there's basically three of us. We're all very good friends. But because Chris has had the audacity to actually message you and ask that question, I'm going to say Matt.
As two final questions from me. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a comedian?
Oh, okay. So it's hard. Like it's hard and it's full of ups and downs. It's a kind of comedy as an industry will test you and push you to your absolute limits. But just like keep going. Like keep going because you genuinely do not know what is around the corner. Like, you know, I have taken off now on TikTok, Instagram. Those apps, certainly not how they exist now. They didn't exist when I was growing up. So there are things that may exist in the future that don't exist now that could help you get where you need to go. Do you know what I mean? And that's incredible. Like when you start thinking about stuff like that, like things are changing so quickly. So like keep going. Make use of everything around you. Use all the tools that you've got for free at your disposal, you know. But rely on yourself, you know, don't give up. Don't let the imposter syndrome creep in because it does. And it, you know, and it does get to you, but you've just got to keep pushing forward. Like if you think you've got something funny, if you think you've got something you want to share with the world, do it. Like absolutely do it. Don't let anybody stop you. You will get criticism from all sorts of places as well, like criticism online, in jobs, at gigs, whatever, but also from friends. Like sometimes you get a curveball comment and you're like, wow, wasn't expecting that from someone close to me. But like but keep going. You've got to be resilient. Like just keep going. And if something flops, if something's not funny, move on, do something new. Like, you know, keep going, you know, don't stop. There you go.
Yeah, and one final question. What advice would you give to someone who's just wanting to chase their dream generally, going back to the title of the podcast? Is it similar to the advice you gave for a comedian?
So the best piece of advice I would give anybody that's chasing a dream, that's building something that's got a dream, is just know your self-worth, right? Know your self-worth and never, ever, ever forget it, because there's going to be people in life, and this has happened to me so often, and I'm 34 now, and I'm still only just learning this, so this is why I'm saying it. There's going to be people that try to belittle you. There's going to be people that try and devalue you, put you down, criticize you. But if you know your self-worth, right, and you can confidently, like you're confidently aware of it, it's literally like having a superpower. Like you can literally like deflect things, because if you get a job offer that's not for you, or it might be, it's not the right offer for you, and that, you can politely and respectfully say, no, sorry, that's not for me, and you can do that on your own terms. But the key thing is self-worth, and don't forget it, because especially in the acting, like the performing industry, this is key, but I'm sure it's the same in many other industries. Never forget your self-worth, because there are sadly people around that do try and will try and get as much out of you as possible for it's less than what you're worth. So, oh my god, I'm going to print that on t-shirts, put it on mugs. Remember your self-worth. Don't forget it.
Yeah, that's a great way to end the podcast. Thank you again, Richard, for coming on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, Ethan.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Richard Franks. The links to his socials are in the description. And if you did leave a comment for a question to ask Richard before the interview, I'm sorry if I didn't get to ask your question, as there was so many left on my announcement of him. I will be back with another interview next month, but for now, goodbye.